what is your inner muse? Why is it important to cultivate a relationship with your inner muse? And then we're going to go into some really practical ways that you can already start to feed your muse more consciously. So first of all, what is a muse? What is your inner muse? It surely sounds very poetic and romantic and beautiful, though when we really ground it in to here and now, your inner muse is your sacred inner compass, the one that offers guidance, insight, ideas, creative ingenuity, right? It aligns you with opportunities that move you towards your destiny. Your inner muse can take form in many different ways, as stated a few just now, though don't take that as gospel. Like, your inner muse can manifest in more nuanced ways than that, even particular symbolism that you feel and see as recurring. Your inner muse can come to you in your dreams, the dreaming, right? So there are a bunch of ways the inner muse can communicate with you, though the essence of what it is the spark within you that activates this urge to accomplish great things, benevolent, great things that are aligned with your soul. And so it's important, very important. So it's helpful that we can start to define this particular energetic, which helps us to know, okay, what it is and how we can more consciously feed the muse, right? The essence of what I want to get to in this video with you is that inspiration is a necessity, not a luxury, especially when we're talking about you living from your soul and you living and fulfilling your destiny. And destiny, again, it's one of those words which is imbued with this sort of poetic essence, though again, on a super practical, down-to-earth level, your destiny is the life that is most meaningful to you, the life in which you feel deeply fulfilled and you are making benevolent impact in your community, in the society, in whichever way is in alignment with your innate gifts. So it's essentially the similar to my previous video with authenticity, like the relationship you have with your inner muse or not is a similar difference between you living a life that you feel deeply inspired by, nurtured by, fulfilled by, or not. So we spoke in the last video about the sacred rebel and how the sacred rebel is kind of like a buddy with the inner muse, and together you're on your team to extricate you from being a cog in the machine and placing you where you need to be in order to fulfill this destiny of yours, right? So we're coming at it from a little different angle, that being of your inner muse. So already I'm sure you're getting a sense of why the inner muse is so important. If you're a visual person like me, you can imagine a room that is grey and has cobwebs and no one's been in there for like 50 years. Spiders don't even live there anymore, right? That is an extreme version of a life without the inner muse. On the other side, imagine a room with a beautiful fire. There's a gorgeous rug. There's a beautiful pot of tea there for you. There's plants in the room. Outside, there's beautiful trees. Maybe it's raining. And there's this essence of creative potential. In the space, it's infused with an energy of inspiration and a timelessness, a sense of possibility. Yummy, juicy, really, that's what we want. So your inner muse is so important because, as I said, it's your ally. And your inner muse, when you cultivate a relationship with them, is what assists you in coming into breakthroughs, right? It's the one that assists you in being in alignment with opportunities that move you towards your life calling, your purpose, your passion, right? And to make a quick note, purpose, your life calling, I invite you not to imagine that as a fixed, stagnant thing, like way over there. It's a moving, morphic, dynamic energy that grows as you grow, though it's definitely like a line forward that you are kind of being pulled by. Your muse is all about authentic expression, and it's easier for the muse's guidance to come through when you're authentic. Like I shared in my last video, Authenticity, Radical Self Expression, and the Sacred Rebel, I started to kind of unpack a little bit how the Sacred Rebel works with your inner muse. And when things aren't in alignment, stuff might break down, right? And then if there's the breakdown, your inner muse is there to transmute that to a breakthrough. So, really, you want to be good friends with your inner muse. And I'm going to get to how you can really strengthen that relationship in simple, grounded, easy ways. So, stay tuned for that. So, I also just want to speak to how the inner muse has many different manifestations. As I've led to now already, can come through as ideas, insight, thoughts, just that flash of, oh, that's the thing. That's the thing I need to do. Oh, this thing that I couldn't quite grasp on how to resolve. Got it. Okay. Then it can also manifest as synchronicities, as meeting a particular person at a really auspicious time who tells you about something which is exactly the thing that you've been calling in. This is the power of your inner muse. We're talking about creative empowerment. We're talking about not only inspiration, but the motivation that sustains you from within to keep going as the path gets challenging, which it inevitably does. On the path, there are for sure the peaks, but there are also plateaus, and when you cultivate a relationship with your inner muse, when there are the inevitable plateaus, it this energy helps you to stay on path rather than regressing or giving up, things like that. So, how do you honor and nurture and feed your inner muse? These things that I'm about to tell you may sound surprisingly simple. Some of them you might not have thought of before, and this is not an extensive list. For sure, there are more things, but again, allow this to be a catalyst of your own exploration. Basically, to honor and nurture your inner muse, you need to get inspired and you need to stay inspired, right? It's fresh impressions. The energy of it's quite vital, right? There's an energy of curiosity, which the inner muse is fed by, and in turn gives you inspiration, right? So it's a very reciprocal relationship. In order to get inspired and stay inspired, this is a very active process. Active in the sense of yin, receptive, conscious, active, and active in the sense of yang, conscious, directed, active. So that just a simple example now, the yin version of that could be doing study, right? You're receiving information in a conscious way. The yang version of that could be going out there and doing a pottery class, something like that. So what we're doing when we're honoring and nurturing the muse by getting and staying inspired is what Julia Cameron also calls filling the well, right? And so what this does is essentially both cultivates, maintains, and replenishes your creative ecosystem. And what exactly is a creative ecosystem? Okay, amazing. A bunch of things too. A creative ecosystem is essentially another way of saying it's the inner garden, which includes the company that you keep, the food that you consume. And company is not just with human people, and food is not just physical food. When we're speaking of company, we're speaking about, for sure, the physical company that you keep, the people, the things in your house itself, the place that you live, the events that you're engaged in, the community that you're engaged with. Though that company that you keep is also the thoughts that you have. It's your relationship with your emotions. It's the relationship with your dreams. It's the books that you're reading, the music that you're listening to, the media that you consume. This is all the company that you keep, and your creative ecosystem is created by that. We want to plant seeds of potential, not weeds. Okay, so this is, as I said, an active process. It's experiential, it's explorative, and it can be as simple as reading books, listening to inspiring music, watching epic documentaries. It could be as well going to workshops, going to retreats. It could be cultivating a meditation practice, a journaling, self-inquiry practice, creative writing practice. It could be singing. It could be going to exhibitions, going to events. It could be going to festivals, gatherings. These are massive examples of inspiration where you can be exposed to a really creative network. So another way is going on adventures, right? Hiking, traveling. You don't have to fly across half the side of the world to experience travel. It can also be within your own country for sure. So don't exclude that because you think it's inaccessible for you. It totally is. And even sometimes the simplest thing of hiking the mountain that you're 20 minutes away that you just didn't really think was that important could be the mechanism of connection to place that assists you in grounding your energy, which assists you in being able to receive that guidance and that inspiration from your inner muse. So there's also life drawing, which is really cool. You get to loosen up, learn to both see the form and draw it and appreciate simple beauty like that. Another way is, for me, kind of like this, I really like asking people just deep, meaningful questions. Even if I don't know them very well, like I'm not going to just, cross any boundaries and ask them something unreasonable, but get in a little bit deeper, a little bit curious. Like, great, I could ask you what's up. I can also ask you how present does your soul feel right now? Hanging out with like-minded, like-hearted people and brainstorming ideas is super good for this. Connecting with nature is huge. And what I want to acknowledge here is when I say nature, it's a whole thing in itself. Like the human nature split is a false binary, and I just want to acknowledge that. But for our purposes, I'm still going to use the word nature. Essentially, we're biologically programmed to be inspired by nature because we are a child of nature, of Mother Nature, of creation, right? So this, I know you've experienced this when you go into a more natural, organic landscape rather than an urban landscape. There's something that happens, like your system simply drops in, your senses are attuned to the greater body that you're surrounded by, the elder powers of the land. Your nose can smell the essential oils basically of the leaves, which also work to calm the body down. There's just something magic that happens there. And not only, if we think purely aesthetically, is nature inspiring, though this in itself, as I alluded to before, is what opens up your system. If you think of it as contracted when it's stressed, it opens it up so there's space for that guidance to come through and to land and to drop in. Compared to box, cubicle, limits, boundaries, like rigidity. And if we apply the principle of as within, so without, if you're without, that which surrounds you is a box that is grey and devoid of organic form and is kind of like a copy paste, then that will mirror your inner experience as well. There won't not that there won't, but it would be harder, let's say, for that organic channel of inspiration to flow through. So that's also why your environment is really important when we're talking about nurturing your inner muse. For sure, doing things that drop you into a mode of discovery. That mode of discovery can be through trying new things that you haven't tried before, be it as simple as a cooking class, a pottery class, a sewing class, a workshop about eco-psychology, whatever it might be, but just trying something new, like putting yourself in the way of freshness and something that's a little outside of your comfort zone. Your inner muse is all about that. There's a capacity then to see things with fresh eyes, like to be revitalized, to have a greater sense of empowerment, and that things are possible. There's potential. There's things that I didn't even know I liked that I now have as the company that I keep. How cool. Doors will open where you didn't know there were doors. And on a really just like basic level, being exposed to different sensorial impressions. So that could be just being somewhere which is more colorful, or when you go to the exhibition or the event, like being exposed to different kinds of people and what they're wearing and how they're speaking and the art that's on the wall, or even going to a new country and seeing all these different faces of you in these forms, right? So your inner muse can honestly receive a lot of nurturance in many different ways. So if you think that you don't have time to feed your inner muse, it's just simply not true. It's more like an internal mechanism shift where you decide that whatever you're doing, you're going to be finding a way to, engage that inner muse, engage a source of inspiration. As I said, this is really important, and something that's really destructive to really cultivating an authentic relationship with your inner muse is this false belief that this is some kind of luxury. It's not a luxury, let me tell you, to feed your inner muse. I repeat, this is not a luxury. If anything, this is a necessity. Because if not, if your inner muse gets swept under the rug, if you disconnect with your source of inspiration, of rejuvenation, of insight, of intuition, you will essentially end up feeling very unfulfilled. There will be a million reasons to procrastinate, and really the sense that something's missing. There's untapped potential. And when that takes over the capacity to be inspired and driven and leading with passion and purpose, this is when that tower kind of falls, right? The breakdown kind of happens, and that can manifest as just being numb, like a numb spell, or losing touch with what's really important and losing touch with who you truly are. So of course, do the practical things. I'm not saying that you need to ditch everything that you're doing and just constantly be exposing and being a sponge to all these new impressions and go traveling and never come back and never do anything boring. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying absolutely do the mundane, practical things so that you can have a roof over your head, food that's nourishing you, all that stuff. And structure in time to consciously, actively feed your muse, nurture, replenish, maintain your creative ecosystem, which you will then be able to draw from. You draw inspiration from that, and your inner muse is kind of like the messenger, let's say, of that. And really, it's both and. It's not either or, okay? Both practical and magical. right? Not practical or magical. We want both. Your inspiration and your muse is the most important component of you living from your soul and embodying your soul and living your life purpose, your potential, your life calling. Any word which resonates with you that encapsulates the energy that I'm speaking to. This is the power of your inner muse, and this is why they are a sacred ally to be honored, not ignored. Again, inspiration cultivates momentum. And sometimes you need that momentum to be the thing that breaks you through the mold so that you can start to walk that path more consciously, right? Just think of it as taking a long shower and just getting the thick layers of mud off so then you can start to scrub into the little, get under your fingernails and do more of the detailed stuff. But first you need that momentum, right? Especially if you're just starting on your journey of conscious self-actualization and creative empowerment and living from your soul, pursuing a life calling, things like that. We want your inspiration to be the momentum, which then leads to intrinsic self-generated motivation. And from motivation comes everything else that you need for your path. So a question to sit with as we end this little chat is, what is your inner muse trying to tell you? What is your inner muse trying to tell you right now? So like the last video, journal about this. Write the question at the top of the page and start writing. Call upon your inner muse. Call upon their voice of guidance to come through and inform your response. Ask for there to be a clearer channel between you so that you can receive their messages with more clarity. And remember that they're not necessarily something outside of you. This requires you looking within because they are part of you. So don't outsource your inner muse. Go within. You have already everything you need. So take that time and see what comes through. With a curious heart and open mind, let an answer come through and don't judge it. It might seem mundane. What is your inner muse trying to tell you? They're trying to tell me that I need to sweep my front driveway. What? Why are you telling me that, inner muse? But then you sweep your driveway, boom, flash of insight comes in, right? So be open and approach this process consciously and with care and a good spirit, and good things will come. I celebrate you. I'm rooting for you. Enjoy the self-discovery process and stay tuned to the space. There'll be more videos coming with themes of creativity, inspiration, self-actualization, starting to tap into more animist frameworks of navigating relationship to life. So yeah, stay tuned. And if you want to stay connected, my Instagram will be below. Feel free to DM me, say hello if you are tuning in without already following me, in which case, hello. Otherwise, see you next time. Be well. Bye.